Oh, brilliant. I'm being goofy. Good morning. How's it going? Woo! Here I am. I've been up since about, about 6:15 or so. I went to Planet Fitness already. I spent 75 minutes or so at Planet Fitness doing HIIT cardio. I did leg work. My legs aren't feeling it, so I think I need to increase the intensity because my legs should be a little wobbly after this. I also worked on something to help with my crossovers, and I did like 5 solid minutes of nothing but squatting. You know, that was it, just squats for like 5 minutes straight. Almost no rest. Almost. I think I took like maybe 20 seconds between sets, and I did like 4 sets of squats of 10 each. So 5 each. I actually did 5 sets of squats. Yeah, so 50 squats. And getting down there. Grabbed some breakfast coming back. I grabbed some McDonald's. And I have coffee. And now I'm here. And I'm doing my video. And then later this afternoon, sorry about that. Later this afternoon, I'm going to go see The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro's, many people are calling it a masterpiece. And, I think it's probably going to be up for like a ton of awards come Academy Award time. And I would not be surprised to see him get Best Director. And I think it's something that he's long overdue for. I think he's another extremely underrated director. And, his work, it's been hit or miss. I mean, every director has that. But when he's on, man, his stuff is just on. And of course, he produced and directed what I consider the greatest popcorn movie of all time, Pacific Rim, which is nothing more than 2 hours of giant robots beating the hell out of monsters. And it delivers. It's normally I would say I wouldn't watch a film like that, but you go in there and every time it's on television or something like that, it's like, I gotta watch this. And it is. It's just like, I don't care. It delivers. The premise is pilots inside two guys or two people pilot giant robots and they beat the shit out of monsters. And they do. And it's cool. I mean, it really is cool. So, I don't mind. I turn the brain off and go, I don't sit there and think, the physics of these giant robots and the physics of these giant monsters would indicate that they would destroy everything, even walking. It's like, no, pound the shit out of that thing. I just turn my brain off. I don't care. And, and there's one scene in there which is ultimately totally anime cool. But when you think about the technology that's being used in the movie, then you start going, wait a minute. How did the other pilot not know that weapon existed? Because he should have. It's because the plot said so. But while I'm at it, I have to tell. Some of you may know this one, but it's my Guillermo del Toro story. And Guillermo del Toro is a huge fan of Breaking Bad. I mean, he actually tried to direct some episodes of the show. He liked it that much. Samuel L. Jackson was another one who actually tried to get on the show. And while they were filming the first Avengers movie, which was partially filmed in the same studios as Breaking Bad at the same time, he actually tried to get over and do like a cameo on Breaking Bad. He wanted to be one of the bad guys or something like that. But one of the episodes that Guillermo del Toro wanted to direct. The episode he wanted to direct, he actually kind of lobbied for it, was the one of the last episodes of the 5th season, one of the last episodes of the series, Ozymandias, which to this day, many people, critics, actors, directors, writers, and just out-and-out fans consider the greatest hour of dramatic network television ever. And it is. There's no hype there. It is. I mean, for years, for like about 4 years, it was a solid 10 out of 10 on the Internet Movie Database, and it's still 9.9. After, when did that air? 2013? Yeah, it's still a solid 10, 9.9 now. But it was a solid 10 until, November of last year. That's how good it is. And Guillermo didn't get a chance to direct it. The person who got to direct it was Rian Johnson, who had actually directed 2 episodes prior. He had directed Fly in the, what was it? That was the 3rd season? Fourth season. I can't remember. I think it was the 3rd season. And he directed 51, which was directed earlier in the 5th season. So he was actually brought in to direct Ozymandias. And interesting bit of trivia is Fly is the least watched and the least liked episode of Breaking Bad because it's what they call a bottle episode. It's just Jesse and Walt chasing a fly around the super lab trying to kill it. Seriously. So what ended up happening, the story goes, sometime after the episode aired, and to grand acclaim, Del Toro and Rian Johnson, who, by the way, has directed The Last Jedi and is catching tons of shit about what he did there. But those two met up, and Del Toro was like, "You son of a bitch." I really wanted to direct that episode. You got it. It kind of, I don't know what to do. And Rian Johnson just looked at it and he goes, "Yeah, you're right. I got to fuck the prom queen." Which is how he put it. That episode was the prom queen, and it was just fabulous. In fact, it had the last scene ever done in the show was actually at the beginning of the episode, because they had to wait for the actors' hair to grow out. They actually waited 4 or 5 months for Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul's hair to grow out so they could film it. And Rian Johnson actually dropped whatever the hell it was he was doing and came back to film the intro, the final last scene ever for the series, so they could put it at the beginning. So he directed the whole series, that whole episode. But anyway, I'm going to go see that. And I have my mermaid earrings in today because mythical aquatic creatures should show solidarity. That's right. So I will be sporting my mermaid earrings when I go see the Shape of Water. Or, as some people have put it, what would happen if the creature from the Black Lagoon got a girlfriend? Which, surprisingly enough, that was kind of what the creature from the Black Lagoon was trying to do. If you've ever seen the creature from the Black Lagoon, you'd know he was trying to get a girlfriend. So, yesterday, I published an excerpt, and I haven't gotten much feedback on it. I'm kind of surprised. I thought I would get a ton of feedback on it, and I didn't. I'm really kind of surprised. And the reason I'm surprised is because of a revelation that came up in the excerpt. And the revelation is, Annie and Carrie firmly believe, they know, they couldn't, they'd have been in trouble if somebody was sitting there going, say their name, because they couldn't, and it talked. But they know that the woman they met was one of the 7 sisters. And who are the 7 sisters? Well, one of those sisters lives somewhere. One of those sisters shows up to do evaluations and assessments of all incoming A-levels, Annie and Carrie included, where she tends to, like, jack with your heads. Bad. Sometimes she jacks with your body. Bad. And who later showed up with one of the best scenes I swear, it's one of the best scenes I ever wrote, where she's just kind of looking at her nail when, you know, Gary's trying to have this final dream to realize he's bi gender, and it's driving him crazy. It's driving him insane, literally. And they're like, you know, you did this shit, you did it. And she's like looking at her nails going, me? I didn't do anything. I didn't realize that was going to happen, you know, and it's like, here's this super powerful being, and she's just like nonchalantly checking out her nails like, what, me? I did nothing. Why are you blaming me? I still say that is like one of the coolest things I ever wrote, because it kind of shows that, one, they're completely disconnected from humans. The Phoenix, who is one of the 7 sisters, we know this, is not even remotely human. So she's completely disconnected. On one hand, she'll be like, oh, you know, I'm really sorry you suffered, kid. On the other hand, it's like, but I'm not going to accept responsibility for that shit. Let's just say I fucked up and leave it at that. Which was kind of her mea culpa throughout that scene, was just like, I fucked up. Let's move on. And it also goes to show you that you really don't know what they're thinking. Because you know the kids have kind of figured out, you know, and they even mentioned that in the last novel, that the Phoenix probably knew the moment Carrie was like having these dreams, she probably knew about it. But no fucks given. He'll break through it, don't worry. Oh, he's not breaking through it. Maybe I should do something about it. Maybe the next dream. You know, they're so disconnected from humans. They're so disconnected. I'm checking my phone. I'm charging it up. They're so disconnected from humans. You can't even understand how they think. Because, really, you know, they're totally alien to us. We're nothing. We're literally nothing to them. If they're, like, helping, it's kind of probably for the Lutz. And even the Phoenix has already stated, you know, when she says, you know, I'm the protector and benefactor of Salem, what she means by protector is, well, she keeps out some shit. But anything that's going on in the physical realm, that's not my problem. You guys are supposed to be like the best young witches in the world. You are at the best school in the Foundation. You are the best in the world. So guess what? It's on your backs to take care of this shit. You know, she literally could have saved everyone who died during the scouring. She probably could have saved everyone who died during the Day of the Dead. She didn't, because it's just not her concern. She's probably looking out for, like, spirits trying to breach the wall and stuff that she's got set up around the place. She doesn't really care. And it's not that she doesn't care, it's just, again, no fucks given. It's just the way she is, because humans are kind of amusing to her. Go figure. The really interesting thing that's kind of coming up is Annie and Carrie met with one of the seven sisters. We don't know where they met. We do know they were speaking Spanish. So that could kind of narrow it down to they were either in South America or they were in Spain. They could have been talking to one of the European, because we know there's one in Europe and when there's one in South America, and they could have been talking to one of those two. But we don't know, because we don't know what name they did. That's just, as they pointed out, if one of the seven sisters is coming to you for help, what the hell is coming? You gotta go, damn, what's going on? The other thing you have to ask yourself is, Cassidy, do you know what's going on? Or did you just write that because you're like, I'm just going to throw that in there and see what happens? No, the first one is correct. And not only do I know what's happening, but I know the whole story behind that meeting. All of it. Because that's the way I am. I've got it in my timeline. If I showed it to you, you'd go, oh my God, you bitch. If I showed it to you, you'd probably roll your eyes at me. But yes, I do have the whole story behind that meeting worked out. Now, if the story never gets published, that just means it never gets published. Does that mean the story never happens? That's a possibility, because as we know, when you're having a vision, it's a vision of a possible future. It's not an actual future, because the kids could die next year or the year after or the year after that. We don't know. So it's a vision of a possible future. But in this instance, I worked out the story just in case. Because that's what I do. I do that. I mean, you kind of have to. You kind of have to work all this stuff out. The kids go through hell. I've already said that. And they're already starting to go through hell. A little bit of hell. Season of hell. The hell hasn't actually started yet. But it's coming. It could have been worse. Yule could have been a lot worse than it was going to be. When I originally put the Yule story together, here's the dope on this. When I put the original Yule story together, Carrie was going to stay behind at Salem, and there would be 8 other students that stayed behind as well for various reasons. And he would communicate with Annie by Skyping to her on a daily basis. And Annie would start arguing with her parents that she wanted to go back to Salem early. And, the parents would be giving her pushback on that. So she'd be all upset and depressed because she wants to go and stay with Carrie, and she can't. And Carrie's all upset and depressed because everybody's abandoned him. That's the thing. Everybody just has abandoned him. And there was one scene, you see, you're getting to hear all the stuff that I had previously plotted. But the one big scene in it would have involved, Carrie would have been the only Cyrano student left behind. So he would have had the entire tower to himself, which when you think about it, That's weird. I mean, he would have had the entire tower to himself. There would have been areas that were off limits. Like, he would not be able to get into the attic, and all the rooms would be locked, with the exception of 2. His dorm room, of course, and Annie's room, because it was left unlocked. By choice, it's possible. Maybe somebody told Sabrina to leave it unlocked. Anyway, there was going to be a scene where Carrie decides it's Christmas Eve, it's already Christmas in Pamporovo, and he's feeling really, really, really low. He needs to feel connected to Annie. So he transitions over to his girl form, and she goes in to Annie's room, gets done up in a pair of her pajamas because she can wear Annie's clothes even though they're just slightly loose on her, and Skypes Annie as Annie's getting up from Annie's room, and they're talking, and her intention is she wants to actually sleep in Annie's bed, so she can feel connected to her, because when she wakes up in the morning it'll be Christmas, and it's the only way she feels that she can be connected to her. And they have this long conversation, and probably for about 45 minutes and stuff, where Carrie is telling Annie, spend the day with your parents, enjoy the time, don't worry about me, we'll talk before you go to bed tonight, blah, 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 blah. And Annie is kind of joking with Carrie, telling her, you make sure you put are you wearing my panties? Yes. You make sure you put them in the wash, in the hamper, so they get washed. Yes, I will, don't worry. And then after they sign, no, I'm not going to New York for practice, sorry. After they sign off, Carrie just completely loses it. Carrie breaks down and begins crying, and it's like uncontrollable girl sobbing that happens when the estrogen just peaks and you're kind of losing your mind. And Deanna, who is one of 2 teachers who stayed behind to watch everyone, the other one being Matthias Ellison, she comes to the room and actually talks to Carrie, calms her down, tells her a little bit about how one Christmas she had to stay at the school, one Yule, and how lonely she felt, and a couple of other things. It was impossible for her there was a reason she couldn't return home, and she felt really bad. And it being at that time, she was the only the only Muslim student in the school. There were a couple of others, but she was the only one in the school over Yule, so she really felt like completely out of place, and she knows what it's like from Carrie's perspective to somewhat feel rejected and abandoned. And she tucks Carrie in, something that Carrie remarks that my mom hasn't done this to me since I was 5 years old. And Deanna sings a lullaby to her in Arabic. And you find out that Deanna actually has a lovely singing voice. And she said, yeah, I developed it as a girl, but she's never actually, she tells Carrie that she's actually kind of shy about singing in front of people. So it's just one of those things she never got over. She's got a bit, when it comes to performing, when it comes to singing, she has a bit of stage fright. She can get up in front of a class and teach, but when it comes to doing something like singing, where she's kind of seeking the approval of the audience, it kind of scares her. So they relate this information back and forth, and Deanna finally helps Carrie get to sleep, and Carrie spends the night in Annie's bed, in Annie's pajamas. And yes, in the morning she puts the panties. She puts the panties in the hamper just to make certain, because she doesn't want Annie to be upset with her. Come on, you put these panties are soiled. But that was actually how it was supposed to turn out. And the other scene was a Christmas morning. Carrie would have been calling his grandparents, who were in Puerto Vallarta at that time, and he would have been actually on his broom somewhere up around northern New Hampshire, because he just gets up early in the morning and goes flying in the winter. He's preparing for the Polar Express, so he's out flying in the winter. And that would have been his only connection with his family, is calling his grandparents on Christmas morning. Yeah, because at no time during Christmas does he get contacted by his parents. Scumbags that they are. So that's sort of the deleted scene. That's how Yule would have actually gone. And you would have actually seen Annie starting to sink into a bit of depression herself, because she's starting to realize just how much she does miss Carrie when Carrie's not around, and how much she definitely wants to start having a normal life with Carrie. That becomes her big problem. You know, Annie's like the most mature 14-year-old girl in the world. They all are. And I mean, she's connected to this boy in such a way that she already thinks of Carrie as her husband. So, as it's also been kind of hinted, if it wasn't for this three bindings thing, bada boom, you know, bada bang, you know, that virginity's out the window, kids. They would be, yeah, it would just be like, let's consummate now. I can't wait till we get married. And they would just be like in a full relationship, both emotional and physical. Those kids. But yeah, Annie would have been, by the time she returns to Salem, Annie would have been something of like an emotional wreck. And there also would have been a scene where, since she would actually end up being one of the first people back to the school by choice, because she's been bugging the shit out of her parents for a few days to do so, they would basically have the entire, you know, tower to themselves, and they kind of have that awkward moment where it's like, boy, if it wasn't for those three bindings, yeah, it would have been awkward. It would have been like Annie realizes that as a young woman, she's so in love with a person that it's going to be like, if I ever have to, once we're married, if I ever have to go away on business for a few weeks and I come back, oh boy, the first thing I'm doing is hauling your ass off to bed. And, you know, that's just going to be it. How was your trip? I'll tell you in bed after we're done. Because right now, I need some loving, baby. I need some loving. Yeah. Annie, we already know. She's pretty sexual. I mean, we know the kids are fooling around. They're doing everything but that one thing. So we know they have a sexual relationship going on. And it seems to be taking care of their needs at this point. But, yeah. It is also going to raise the question of, will there be a point in Pamporovo where the kids manage to sneak into bed together? There's a guest bedroom in the Karolovi house. It's on the ground floor. The parents sleep in the basement. Annie sleeps on the first floor. She's got the entire first floor to herself, by the way. It's funny how that works out. Her parents basically have the basement, the lower level of the house is theirs. The first floor of the house is all Annie's. And the ground floor is basically the communal living area. That's it. That's where everybody comes together and meets. You have the dining room, you have the kitchen, you have the living room. And that's it. Even the family room downstairs is really kind of designed just for Victor and Pavlena to just chill out together and watch TV if they want to, without being bothered by the kids. Or the kid, or the kids in this case. The only part that isn't communal that's on the ground floor is Victor's office is on the ground floor. Victor has his own office. And Pavlena actually has an office out in the greenhouse because that's her realm. So even then, they're kind of separated. They didn't put the office downstairs because there just wasn't any place to put it. That's the way it works. Will they get together? You'll have to see. The other thing I was thinking about, and I've actually been thinking about this for a couple of days now, is I'm seriously considering doing a trailer like I've done for the last 3 books for the D-level novel. And I don't mean like a year from now. I mean, I'm actually sort of considering doing one like within the next month. And I don't know if I should do it like a teaser or if I should do it like I've been doing for the others. Like, here would be the 2.5 minutes promo that you would have that's going to show a lot of the things that are going to happen during their D levels. And you would be seriously surprised, I think, by some of the stuff that's going to come up in their D levels. Seriously. I was actually considering it last night. I was starting to run through scenes in my head and thinking about, okay, how would I write this? How would I write this out? Because at the rate I'm going, it could be another 1.5 years before I get done with this novel. And I don't know that I'm going to jump directly into the D-level novel right away, simply because I've got 2 other novels, and I've been getting a lot of people on Facebook now, in one of the groups I'm in, asking, when are you going to get these published? We want to read them. In fact, I got one right now who's asking about when am I going to publish my mermaid story that I wrote last May? And it's like I said, I've got a couple of stories that I could write, I could publish. But to do that, I need to stop what I'm doing now. I need to stop writing at some point and go back and edit that work, because it's going to take time to edit it. And it might not be a bad little diversion to actually edit some of the stuff that I've already put together. Like that mermaid story. It was pretty simple. And it would actually be something I could just put up and sell for like 99 cents. I don't even remember how many words it was. It was close to novel length. I know that. I think there was like 30,000 words or something. It was a novella for sure. But that would just be something interesting to put up and just sell it for like 99 cents, just to get it out there again. I need to do that. And I have suggested amusements. I'm thinking of wanting to rewrite that. But I do need to get something up. I need to generate some revenue. It'd be nice if all of a sudden I could start selling stories and it's like, 5,000 copies. There's $5,000. Money. But to do that, I would end up having to stop what I'm doing now with the C-level novel. Just stop at some point. And since I'm coming up on the end of chapter 20, I'm trying to make that decision. Do I want to stop there and maybe take a few weeks to edit one of those other older stories and self-publish it? And it might not be a bad idea, because I haven't published anything. I'm coming up on the last time I published something was 6 years ago. I'm starting to sound like George R.R. Martin without the money and without the fame. I haven't published anything in 6 years. Well, that's kind of stupid. Everybody else's that I know who are working as authors are publishing, and I'm not. All I'm doing is talking about all the writing I'm doing, but I'm not publishing anything. So who gives a shit if I'm doing all this writing if no one outside my blog is actually reading it? So that's some of the stuff that I'm considering, and it's some of the stuff that I gotta start looking at. Now that I have the time. I went out to dinner last night. We had a cheap dinner. Me and Panzer went out last night and had a cheap dinner. Really, it was. Pizza, 2 beers, and dessert for like $20. And that was one of the things I said lately. I've been kind of bored. Sending out stuff to try to get a job. But I re-binged Breaking Bad for like the 5th or 6th times, and I watched it all in like about a week. I did. It was like a week and a half. I went through the whole thing. Because I'm sitting here like, let's watch 6 episodes now. Oh, let's watch a couple of episodes tonight. That's a show I never get tired of watching. I just love it. Mostly because, characterization, writing, that's what it's all about. Even though the main character is a gigantic scumbag. And as one person said, it's probably going to be the last great anti-hero story. Because let's face it, Walter White is like a monster. He becomes the biggest anti-hero in history. When he goes out on his own terms. But he's a monster when he goes out. You realize this is a guy who has literally ruined probably tens of thousands of lives and killed. Somebody did a thing where it said directly or indirectly he was responsible for like the deaths of over 300 people. Because in ABQ he was responsible for a midair collision, kinda. He was. Walt's an asshole. Walt, at the end, became this drug kingpin monster. So there probably is never going to be another TV series like that where you have this guy who is a huge anti-hero and people just dig the shit out of it. It seems it's changing a lot. More people want heroes, superheroes. I want flawed superheroes. I want superheroes that they're gonna fail every once in a while, and when they fail big. Oh yeah, that's the one thing we don't see about Tony Stark. When Tony Stark fucked up, he fucked up big time. Huge. We don't see that. We don't see the times because Robert Downey Jr. playing him, he doesn't do that. But we don't see the times when Tony was just like raging on drunk, flying around in his Iron Man suit, fucking shit up, or he was all hung over the next day and fired his butler once because Tony Stark in the comics was just a pure asshole. He really was. He was about as flawed a hero as they get because he was just this gigantic asshole. He was a gigantic asshole with a suit of powered armor that people just did not mess with. So there you go. Well, I think I've rambled on enough. I'm looking down the counter here, and I'm coming up in 39 minutes and 30 seconds, so I think it's time to go. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you have a good weekend. I know I'm going to try my best to have a good weekend. And I'm going skating tomorrow, so here's hoping I don't crash and burn, running over some little kid who falls in front of me. Keep those fingers crossed, folks. I'll catch you later. Bye.